So we now go to the second part of Tiferes LeMoishe. Madua ahavas Yisrael hi Klal Godoil b'Torah. Why is this called a Klal Godoil? Something which is fundamental, something which is essential. After everything that has been mentioned before, a person can still think in his heart, fool themselves. That this is all something which is fantastic, amazing, and very pleasant. Okay, fine, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to do Avas Yisrael exactly like I'm supposed to. Okay, it's one of the things, I am perfect. Some Yidden I won't have this Avas Yisrael. When it comes to all the other mitzvahs in the Torah, I am good. I do my best and I give it my all. But this is something that I can't. So what's this big fuss that one year I don't love like I'm supposed to love? Meaning it's a non-starter, it's a moot point. And the reason for that is that somebody who's missing and lacking in that, whichever way, it means that he's also lacking in what it means to be a Jew and what it means to have faith and love Hashem. In order to understand this concept and the importance, paramount importance of loving every Yid, we have to first start by introducing the words that Rashi HaKadosh talks about when discussing the mitzvah of Ahavta Recha Kamecha. This is what Rabbi Akiva tells us. Rabbi Akiva, who rebuilt the Messiah, who rebuilt the tradition by setting up his 5 Talmidim after 24,000 of them had passed away, and he didn't let that this way, and he continued the tradition, and he said this is a Klal Godoil b'Torah. Doesn't say about anything else. And the Yerushalmi itself mentions it as well, not just the Medrash and Teras Kana. We need to understand why is it considered a Klal Godoil? Why is this mitzvah so important that it's considered to be a foundation of practicing Jewry and a general rule in the entire Torah? It is one mitzvah out of 613. It is not even a 0.25% of all the mitzvahs in the Torah. So why is this so important? What gives us this importance? And Chazal said in Gemara Shabbos, Daf Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph. There's a story brought down in the Gemara in Shabbos. He didn't know what he needed to know, and he said to Hillel, teach me the entire Torah on condition that you teach it to me while I stand on one leg, which could be seen as something which is very disrespectful. Well, took what the person said at face value, and he said, fine, whatever you don't want people to do to you, don't do to others. That is the main crux of it, and everything else you will learn from there. If you just start there, you're good. And this also needs explanation. Is that actually the entire premise of the Torah? What you don't want done to yourself, don't do to others? Can that be really said? When it comes to mitzvahs, commandments that are between a man and his fellow, that I understand, that I get. But there's an entire portion which doesn't concern that. There's a list of them which have nothing to do between a man and his fellow. And so how can you tell me that the rest is all follows from that? How can you say the main point? These other mitzvahs, these other commandments don't concern the relationship between one and their fellow, but rather between a person and Hashem. And therefore, how can they be connected? In order to understand this, we need to understand 2 very important points. Why do I need to love every Yid? It's not just in order to create a good cohesion in the Jewish community, that we live in peace. And therefore, it must be it must be that there's something quite fundamental, quite deep-rooted, which is something that we need to explore. The second point, how can you command somebody to love every single Jew like yourself? Is it possible Is it possible to love somebody like that, like you love yourself? There's a person who's an absolutely horrible individual. Terrible person. And we're talking about somebody who has terrible character traits, doesn't keep Shabbos, doesn't keep kashrus, doesn't do the mitzvahs, isn't kind to other people, a horrible, vile human being who just happens to be a Jew. How can I honestly be commanded to love somebody like that, like myself? So let alone love, but love like myself, that seems to be something which is purely beyond human nature and beyond what would seem to be a possibility, unless there's something that we're missing. And the next part, hopefully we will cover this.